When it comes to snooker's history, Barry Hearn remains firmly at the core. As a promoter, he was at the very heart of the boom in the 1980s, and in the 90s, he became the manager of a certain Ronnie O'Sullivan when he turned professional. Now the chairman of the game's governing body, Hearn invited the Rocket down to his offices in Essex to talk about all things snooker.
Thanks, Barry, for coming, for talking to us.
It's a pleasure, Ron. Always a pleasure, mate.
Always, obviously, like, you know, growing up as a snooker fan, watching Steve Davis in the 80s, he was like my hero, and obviously, like, you was the manager promoting all the players and that. So I just want to know a little bit about the early days, because obviously I've heard all the stories, but obviously it would sound better coming from you.
I think looking back, I had 40 years now of promoting snooker since 1974, and looking back on the early days, I have to say they were probably my happiest days, because it was all such a new world, you know, new boundaries. In those days, I suppose we really started off as a bit of a hustler, you know. Had this tall ginger kid with no personality at all, but who could play, the Nugget. So Harry got his nickname, the Nugget, from Romford, because everyone had their case 50 quids on him, and fivers and tenors. They were getting a living out of backing Steve Davis. And Steve just wanted to play, so he was dead easy. So we come to this deal in the early 70s. Look, no one knows you. You know, you're a quiet lad. I'll pay you 25 quid a night, plus a bonus on the gambling, and we'll go all around the country. And, you know, looking back on it, it was just the wildest days. And you'd turn up at Leeds and there'd be 300 supporters for John Virgo, say. And they didn't know who Davis was, so they'd give him a 10 start. And then I'd take all the money in the place on behalf of the Romford Raw.
The Romford Raw, that's right.
And we'd end up 3 o'clock in the morning, might have a bit of trouble in the car park. We got paid eventually, you know, and we just laugh all the way. That's how I remember the early days. All I remember is laughing, having a great time. And Steve didn't care, because he just wanted to learn the game.
When was that point when you thought, I've got someone special on my hands here?
You know, I'd love to tell you it was early, but it wasn't, because as you know, I mean, my snooker ability could be written on the back of a packet of matches, you know. I knew he had something special in terms of concentration and desire, and he never opened his mouth. He had no personality at all. Very shy, very nervous boy. But once he was on the table, that was his opportunity to express himself at something, you know. From 75 to 78, I started realising this could be special, and then, you know, I just started banging the drum. I got the best player in the world, we're going to kill everybody, this is all over for the establishment, and they hated us. And I think about 78, I think Steve was playing in the British Team Championships. We were in Blackpool, and I said to him, son, I think you should turn pro. And his dad said, no, let's go, we want to win the World Amateur first. I said, waste of time, you can't eat medals. I said, this kid is going to be the next world champion, blah, blah, blah. And we signed our only contract we ever had. We signed up against a lamppost in 1978 in Blackpool. And of course, it didn't come as easy after that, because it is a tough game to master. But that was the time. From 78, I thought I'd got something really special here.
And you talk about the establishment, because I remember when you signed me up. I was 16 at the time of when I was meant to turn pro, but my birthday fell short of the closing date. I've never ever told this story to anyone, but I just thought I'd tell you, because I always wanted to ask you, did you think there was a problem with the establishment? I remember playing in Pot Black, and I was 15, and you had all of the board members there, and I remember standing behind a curtain just to wait before I was about to go out, and one of the people there that was part of the establishment said, if it wasn't for Barry, you would have turned pro. He said, it's only because of Barry that they're not letting you in. And I looked like that, and I was like, really?
No, they hated me. I mean, it was partially my fault as well, because I'm not exactly shy and retiring. I was pushing their face in it. I was so much better than them at doing their job. And it takes a big man to appreciate that they're second best. And then, of course, signing the prodigy, you know, and it's like, And their first thought was, how can we get at Barry? And the easiest way was by not letting you turn pro. And, you know, this is a family programme, so we can't tell the full story. But basically, I talked him into it in the end.
Just bringing it back now to the present, obviously, you've kind of now gone from battling the establishment, coming through the early days, promoting players, promoting tournaments all around the world. You're now ownership of snooker, where it all started.
Oh, no, I love it.
Did you ever think you'd be in that position where you'd one day?
No, I thought, I mean, after a while of all the opposition I was getting, in the end, even the best fighter after several hundred rounds says I've had enough. And I probably took that route because I was capable of doing so many other different sports and getting my pleasure from different things, predominantly the boxing, latterly the darts and whatever we're doing. And when the opportunity came, much, much later, you know, I thought, do I really... And I sat down with Steve and said, do I want to... You know, it's like going out with an old girlfriend you haven't seen for 40 years.
I thought he was mad.
I know, you told me I was mad.
I mean, I backed you. I mean, I thought there was no one better for the sport. But at the time, I did think, I don't know what he's letting himself in for.
I just felt there was lots of different things going through my mind at that time. I felt one, and it strands. I mean, I'm not as nice a person as this makes me sound, but I felt as if I owed the sport something. Secondly, I saw the opportunity in a commercial sense because the game was so poorly managed that even I, well, you know, on a bad day, I would look like a genius in comparison. So, and I like a little challenge, and sometimes it just comes up, you know, it's the right time and the right place. We know we've got a great game to play, but we have to present it properly.
In what way would you change the perception then of snooker? How would you start? I mean, do you think the players could probably do more to promote the game? Does that frustrate you?
It frustrates me enormously. We had a meeting with all the players some months ago, and I asked them, you weren't there because you're bad at going to meetings.
I wasn't invited.
You was always invited.
I love a meeting,
you just ignored it. we talk on TV, we don't have...
I'm going to be a board member soon, you do know that.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you all your great ideas.
I can't wait for that day to come.
You'll love me for it.
I love you. I love you anyway.
The players will hate me.
Yeah. The difference is, we had a meeting with the players and I asked them a very simple question. How many of you guys signed an autograph on the way here? Put your hands up. No hands went up. I said, that's because you're not doing your job properly. You're
looking for characters, you're looking for people to express themselves, you're looking for players. Do you think there's that in snooker? I mean,
no, there's not enough of it. There's not enough of it. And there's a reticence amongst players to embarrass themselves. They look at it as if it's an embarrass themselves. And I say it's not. I don't expect you to come out dressed as a clown. I don't want you to punch someone in the face to be famous, but I want some more interaction. I want some more emotion. I want people to know that it means something to you. I want them to feel that they're part of the whole experience.
Do you think I could do more for the game?
Yes, of course. You're getting better.
Yeah.
Well, by playing more, but obviously we understand, you know, the freedom of the individual. You know, by actually putting yourself out a bit more sometimes for snooker. You see, you do for your career, but in a way, it's unfair that you should shoulder all the responsibility. That's not right. You need other people out there that... And I think, you know, there are some of them that are beginning to try, and I'm being overcritical. I'm saying in a perfect world. In a perfect world, I'd have 8 Ronnie O'Sullivans, all different, all slightly different, but with great ability on the table, and it's getting that mixture right of the ability on the table and the notoriety off the table. So the audience for snooker is not restricted to traditionalists, to people that have always watched it. It goes to a wider audience. You know, I'm sure Einstein would put this on a board somewhere and he'd say, ability plus entertainment equals piles of dosh.
Whenever they play the World Championships and they show past winners, and there's that moment when you come out, and Davis, I think, won it in 1981, the big Doug Mountjoy, and there's you come running out and you like rugby charge Davis.
I can't, do you know what, I get goosebumps even now when you say it. I mean, God's been very kind to me, Ronnie, as you know, and I've been involved in lots of big sporting events that have been fabulous fun. Some of them made loads of money, some of them have given me nights that I won't forget. Nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to that feeling in 1981. And I'm sitting in the audience, I can remember saying to myself, and my heart, I can feel my heart going, even thinking about it, is that, don't do anything stupid. Don't do any, and I kept saying to myself over and again, don't do anything stupid. And he gets down and prots the brown. He's perfect on the blue. He rolls through the blue, he's absolutely perfect on the pink. Don't do anything stupid. He pots the pink, I do something stupid. You know, it was like I came out of my own body. The relief of being right, of being able to say, I told you so. Being sticking, you know, when I was going like this to the crowd, that was us. That was us saying, we've made this journey and now we're going to smash it right up. Life just deals you very strange angles to come from. If Davies hadn't walked into the Romford Snooker Centre in 1975, if I hadn't started promoting tiny small snooker events, he wouldn't have made the journey. And where would I have been? I could have run, you know, I think I'd have been okay. but I wouldn't have had the life and the fun. So I owe Davis more than I owe anybody, other than my family. And I hope, in some ways, that I've repaid that, you know, because he's been my pal for 38 years, and I'm 66 now, Ron.
Looking well.
I'm in shape, mate, but mentally I'm still buzzing every day of my life.
Barry, been brilliant talking to you. Thanks for taking the time,
Hey, you're good at this.
Cheers, Barry.